Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick demonstration and first look at the Sony A7's wireless capability. Both the A7 and A7R, the first full-frame mirrorless interchangeable lens cameras from Sony, have Wi-Fi and NFC on board, which will allow you to pair with Wi-Fi enabled devices. If they do have near-field communication, it'll make that pairing process even more seamless, and then it will allow you to share photos as well as actually take control of the camera. So these are great features, all that originally launched with the NEX5R, a mirrorless interchangeable lens NEX camera over a year ago that I covered, as well as the actual Play Memories application store, which I'd like to say, or I should say I would have liked to have seen mature into a lot more than what's present on the A7 and A7R out of the box. Now, Sony did warn us in advance that we would only be getting access at launch to the smart remote control app, and that warning is accurate, which I'm going to demonstrate right now because I'm going to go ahead and jump into the menu. You can see we've got access to the traditional Wi-Fi controls you'll find in Sony cameras and other competing products. Not that there are any to compete with this because there aren't, but sending to your smartphone, computer, viewing on a TV, which will look great on a 4K TV, but I recommend using the actual HDMI out because you do get a raw uncompressed 4K signal there. And then one-touch NFC control, which is going to allow you that once you've done that first pairing with the password, which by the way is case sensitive for you Wi-Fi users, which are basically going to be Apple owners in the majority, since you do not have NFC built in. Android users, on the other hand, many of you will have NFC, many will not. It really depends on your handset. But both work seamlessly. NFC is just going to allow it to launch without you having to go and actually open an application. To be very clear, you do not need to have a Wi-Fi internet connection. You just need devices that have Wi-Fi capability so that they can actually communicate with one another. In this case, my Galaxy Note 2 with the A7. Of course, that can also be a tablet. It's really up to you. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump up to the application store and go to the introduction. And basically what they show you here is just that you're able to use the Play Memory Store to add features to your device. And this is a really cool added value feature, in my opinion, that again launched with the NEX cameras that I think a lot of people wrote off as gimmicks, but the reality is that it does allow you, I won't say to grow with your camera, but to change the experience out of the box and what your camera can do without having to do things in post. Things like time-lapse, which I've demoed before, and those are really nice features to have. Now, if I go to the application list, we can go directly into the Play Memory store, which is connecting through my Wi-Fi network right now, and you'll see the actual speed. I'm nowhere near the connection. Not that Wi-Fi, the chipset on here, has been incredibly fast, but you'll see what latency is like when it's connected to the actual Note 2. You can see the only apps available right now, the free Smart Remote Control app, which I have not updated yet, the Direct Upload app, and the Flickr add-on. So we're missing a lot of applications, and this is one area where I'm disappointed. Sony has said that sometime this month things are going to get updated, this month being December. The camera did launch on December 1st, but I really think that for a flagship, game-changing device like this, we should have at least had access to everything that was there for the NEX lineup. But I give Sony the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure this had something to do with rewriting the applications for the full-frame environment, something to that extent. With that out of the way, let's get to actually demoing this entire process. So, as I mentioned before, generally if you wanted to actually connect to a phone with just Wi-Fi, you would go ahead and go to the Smart Remote Embedded. It would prompt the Play Memory software for you to go ahead and enter your password. And on here, your phone of choice, you would just be going straight to the Play Memories app, and then it would populate the device over Wi-Fi, which you'll see right now. There it is, it's detected. I would select that and enter the password. And you can see it's already connecting. But for our purposes, I wanted to demonstrate the NFC because that's the way it's going to work for Wi-Fi users, which I think will be the majority since, after all, again, Apple does not manufacture phones with NFC. If you have that luxury, though, all you have to do is know where your NFC contact point is on your phone or tablet of choice. The NFC contact point is right on the right side of the A7 and A7R. You can see the logo right there. And all you're going to do is touch the camera to that point. I have enabled it. I have turned it on. Actually, let me go back because it's still trying to log on. And you can see immediately it won't turn on the camera the way the QX100 will. At least I haven't noticed that. But we're connecting just like that. You can see a direct connection has occurred. I'm going to go into landscape. You can see exactly what I've got on screen there, side by side, focusing on the Toshiba Flash Air 8 gig card. And the camera is still controllable while we're in the Wi-Fi remote access. This is something to be noted because that's something that generally does not work in other models like the NEXs. You can't, it's, one or the other, all or none in terms of control. Right now we just have shutter control, so we can take a picture. And you could hear that shutter release right there. And in terms of latency, let me go ahead and I'll go to portrait for this because it'll give us better side-by-side, and you'll actually be able to see how quickly it adjusts. Or, excuse me, I'm still in the photo there. Fooled me, which, by the way, you can share. But, again, here's the latency test. A little bit of lag, but I would say pretty good. I would say pretty good. And this is something that Sony is far from new at. As I mentioned, over a year under their belt with this sort of smart remote control feature. I'd like to see more settings here, and that's something that probably is in the update. Right now we just have self-timer, review, and save options. But hopefully we're going to see a lot more. And that's something Sony has reserved for devices like the QX100, which are all about remote control use in general, since they aren't complete cameras, they're lens cameras. You've also got playback up there to get into the gallery, but that's relatively it. And again, if I shoot a photo, you will then be prompted with actual share capabilities. So that's the whole idea here. Works fairly simple. You saw how quickly, or instantly I'll say, we were able to connect. And while the features are limited right now at launch, I expect to see this completely developed, and this is really the opportunity for the application store to mature to another level that the NEX platform unfortunately didn't give it that capability. And that's because you're now looking at a camera that is going to appeal to a broader audience, not in terms of its price point, but because it is a full-frame beast that still retains the compact form factor of a mirrorless experience, and that's what it is after all. If you're going to compare this to other mirrorless cameras, which full-frame don't exist outside of Leica, which is not a household name, at least in terms of ownership because of the cost of entry, that's what makes this camera a steal. 24 megapixels, contrast and phase detection. You won't get that with the 7R, but with the 7R you will get a 36 megapixel sensor, no low pass filter, so it's all about that resolution and whether or not you need it. Only contrast detection, so slightly slower autofocus, but 5 frames per second continuous here, 4 and change with the A7R, so it's really about whether or not you need that resolution, and slightly more durable build quality on the 7R, except I haven't really seen that much to at least make anyone turn away the A7, because it's still built like a tank. Weather sealing on both, phenomenal built-in audio, and just about everything you could possibly want in a camera, let alone something that is this form factor. Not a lot of glass out there right now in terms of the FE lenses, because even though this works around the E-mount, Sony's developing a whole new line of full-frame E-mount lenses, since the current generation is designed for APS-C-sized sensors. So glass is probably the only limitation, but that argument is easily debunked by the fact that with an adapter you can put any legacy glass under the sun on this camera, much like its NEX, I will say, predecessors, because that is the theme here. It's not just another interchangeable lens camera that also happens to be full frame and mirrorless, but in addition it allows you to take that flexibility that was born with the NEX brand between lightweight, incredible photographic capability, but also that flexibility to use any glass, any age. I mean, it's really up to you, as long as you're willing to start using some peaking and manual, which features, which you should be if you're buying into a system that's this expensive. So A7, A7R, game changers, really redefining the landscape of digital imaging. But at this point, I expect nothing less from Sony because they've been doing that for the last couple of years. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.